My boss delivered the news bluntly. "Thomas, after 17 years, we're eliminating your position." He told me to clear my desk by day's end. My name is Thomas Harper, 54, and until that Monday morning, I was a senior systems engineer at Pinnacle Solutions in Columbus, Ohio. For nearly 2 decades, I'd been the backbone of the IT department, guiding the company from dial-up days to cloud integration. 3 CEOs had passed through while I stayed, training every newcomer, recovering lost data, and working through weekends and holidays without seeking promotions or praise. So when Richard called me into his office with Karen from HR already seated, I knew the outcome before he spoke. The atmosphere had shifted weeks earlier. "I understand," I said with a single nod, leaving without another word. No anger, no arguments, just quiet acceptance. At my desk, I saw younger colleagues glance my way, then quickly focus on their screens. Word travels fast. Most were coders I'd mentored. Good folks, but they didn't understand the system's foundations or the older architecture's quirks. None could navigate the custom software I'd built or the admin credentials buried deep within the systems. I packed methodically. A family photo, a mug my son made in high school, a small cactus that somehow thrived under fluorescent lights for 17 years. Rachel from marketing stopped by, her face tight with concern. "Thomas, I just heard. This is outrageous. You practically built this place." I shrugged. "Companies change course." "But without warning, after all you've done," her voice rose, drawing attention. "It's fine," I said softly. It wasn't fine, but I wouldn't make a scene. As I left, Richard stepped out to watch me go. No goodbye, no handshake, just scrutiny to ensure I departed. They hadn't noticed over the years that I'd become the most critical person in the building. Not because I was exceptional, but because I was thorough. I documented everything. Years ago, at the legal team's request during a past issue, I'd set up secure audit protocols to track unauthorized access. I kept copies. In my car, I paused, staring at the 12-story building where I'd spent most of my adult life. The security badge I'd surrendered had been renewed 16 times. I started the engine and drove home. They didn't know Wednesday would be interesting. I'd been with Pinnacle since it was 2 floors in a business park. I started when my daughter, Emma, was in kindergarten. Now she was finishing grad school. The company grew, and I grew with it. I turned down offers from competitors because loyalty mattered. My wife, Claire, used to joke that the servers were my second family. She wasn't wrong. I knew every system, every workaround, every hidden fix for problems the executives didn't even know existed. The infrastructure I'd built endured 3 acquisitions and countless initiatives leadership embraced, then abandoned, months later. Richard became my boss 5 years ago. A young MBA who called our team IT resources instead of people. He talked about streamlining, efficiency, and digital transformation, buzzwords meaning do more with less. I tried to explain our system's complexity, the layers built over years. "We need to future-proof," he'd say in meetings, ignoring me. 6 months ago, he brought in a consultant, Nathan Brooks. Sharp suit, firm handshake, a Yale degree flaunted on LinkedIn. They'd huddle in conference rooms, speaking softly when I passed. 3 months ago, I noticed my access permissions subtly altered. Nothing blatant, just small tweaks to administrative controls. I could have protested, but I watched and documented. "You seem distracted," Claire said one evening on the porch. "Work okay?" I nodded, sipping my tea. "Just changes, nothing I haven't seen." But these felt different. I was sidelined in meetings. Emails about system upgrades excluded me. Junior team members took projects I'd normally lead. Then I found a company-wide memo about modernization plans, never shared with me. It outlined an IT department restructure under Nathan Brooks. My role wasn't listed. That day, during a routine security scan, one others ignored, I noticed odd patterns in our financial software. Regular transfers to an unknown vendor, Summit Strategies Group. A search showed it was registered last year with an address tied to a UPS store. Payments started small but grew monthly. I stayed quiet, logging details and copying records. Sometimes the quiet person sees everything because others assume they see nothing. The next morning in my home office, I stared at my personal laptop. No alarm, no commute, just silence and the weight of yesterday. Claire brought me coffee, setting it down without a word. After 19 years of marriage, she knew when I needed space. "I'm heading to the store," she said later. "Need anything?" I shook my head. Once she left, I unlocked my desk's bottom drawer and pulled out a flash drive, one of several I kept secure. Company policy banned removing data. But years ago, when legal needed an audit system for insider threats, I'd gotten approval for off-site backups. They forgot about it. I plugged in the drive and reviewed files. Internal emails, meeting notes I shouldn't have had, financial records most employees never saw. There it was, payment history to Summit Strategies Group. Nearly $1.8 million over 18 months. The approval chain led to CFO David Lawson. Digging deeper, I cross-referenced dates and figures, revealing a pattern. Payments aligned with software license renewals for company-wide systems, but amounts were inflated, 15% to 20%. Small enough to avoid immediate suspicion, large enough to accumulate. I checked Summit's registration. The owner was Michael Lawson, David's brother-in-law, confirmed via social media. They were funneling funds through fake markups on real expenses. I leaned back, feeling something shift, not anger but cold focus. For 17 years, I'd fixed systems, protected data, been reliable. They discarded me like obsolete equipment. My phone buzzed with a text from Alex, a junior analyst I'd mentored. Sorry about yesterday. Total nonsense what they did. Brooks is already in your office. I set the phone down without replying. The pieces fit. Richard and David needed me gone before I noticed their scheme. They thought I was just an aging tech who didn't grasp modern finance. I started drafting an email to the board, then stopped. Too direct. Easily dismissed as a fired employee's grudge. I needed precision, leverage, exposure they couldn't ignore. I deleted the draft and planned. Tomorrow was Wednesday, board meeting day. Financials would be presented, bonuses approved, perfect timing. I closed the laptop and looked out at the neighborhood where we'd raised our kids. For the first time since yesterday, I smiled. Wednesday morning, I parked across from Pinnacle's headquarters, watching employees enter. On the passenger seat, my laptop was logged into an email account I'd created years ago for security testing, internal looking but untracked. At 9:15 a.m., I sent an email to Richard, subject, Financial Irregularities Urgent Review *. It summarized Summit payments enough to be credible, omitting the brother-in-law link. If Richard was involved, he'd panic. If not, he'd investigate. Either way, I'd learn something. By 9:45, my phone rang. Richard. I let it go to voicemail. His message was curt. Thomas, call me back. We need to discuss your email. I didn't. I drove to a coffee shop, set up my laptop, and waited. At 10:30, Karen from HR emailed, Mr. Harper, your communication may violate your separation agreement. Cease contact with Pinnacle employees and respect confidentiality obligations. Further actions may lead to legal consequences. They were playing hardball, threaten, dismiss, isolate. I hadn't signed any agreement. At noon, I visited my bank, accessing my safe deposit box. Inside was another backup, older but with key data. Original security protocols showing who accessed what and when. David Lawson had requested expanded financial system access 18 months ago when Summit payments began. Back home, 3 missed calls, Richard, Karen, Nathan, Brooks. His involvement so soon was telling. A new email from Alex marked urgent. Thomas, they're saying you sent a wild email about fraud. Brooks called an emergency meeting. Everyone's talking. They're cutting your access to everything, even stuff we need to work. What's happening? Poor kid caught in the middle. I replied briefly, stay out of it, Alex, just observe. At 3 p.m. my home phone rang, an old business line. I picked up, silent. Thomas. David Lawson. His tone was calm, controlled. We should discuss your concerns. There's a misunderstanding. Is that what you call it? I asked. Look, transitions are tough. If you have financial questions, use proper channels. Like the board, I cut in. Silence. The board doesn't need operational details. Meet me tomorrow, just us. We'll sort it out. Sorry, busy tomorrow, I said, but the board might care about Summit Strategies and your brother-in-law. His sharp breath confirmed it. You're making a mistake, he said. We can offer generous severance, references, whatever you need. Goodbye, David, I said, hanging up. 10 minutes later, Karen emailed again, offering double the severance with a confidentiality agreement. They were scrambling, thinking I wanted a simple payout. They had no idea what was coming. Thursday brought clarity. I'd spent the night analyzing years of data, connecting overlooked dots. Summit wasn't David's first scheme. 3 years ago, after he became CFO, another pattern emerged. Consulting fees to Riverside Consulting, a different name, same tactic. Inflated invoices for partial or non-existent services. Riverside's registration led to Patricia Lawson, David's wife. No website, no employees, a virtual office. Email archives revealed Richard's involvement. facilitating the deals for budget increases while other departments faced cuts. He'd been hired after the prior director questioned IT spending. Nathan Brooks' consulting firm was hired through irregular channels, not to modernize but to remove me, the one who might notice. The scheme was clever. Legitimate vendors inflated payments, split profits. Since real services were provided, auditors missed the markups. Over 3 years, they'd siphoned $4.3 million. I compiled a report. Spreadsheets of payment patterns, registrations linking to David's family, emails showing Richard's complicity. Then I did the unexpected. I contacted William Chen, a board member I'd worked with years ago on security protocols. Now semi-retired, he still attended meetings. "Thomas Harper," he said, answering quickly. "Heard you left Pinnacle." "Not by choice," I replied. "William, I need 15 minutes, it's critical." Silence then. "This about why David and Richard look stressed? Yesterday's board meeting was tense." "Probably," I said. "Can we meet?" "Name the place." An hour later, at a park 3 miles from headquarters, I handed him a sealed envelope with a printed summary and flash drive. "Everything's there, dates, amounts, connections. I don't want my job back or money, I want the right people to know." William studied me. "Why me?" "You read audit reports, you asked questions," he nodded. "Emergency board session tomorrow, finance review." "Good timing. If it checks out, there'll be consequences," he added, pocketing the envelope. "I'm counting on it." As I returned to my car, Claire texted. "Someone named Nathan Brooks came by, said it was urgent." "I told him you were out. They were desperate." "Good." That afternoon, 2 competitors offered me senior roles with hefty bonuses. Word of my availability had spread. I ignored them. This wasn't about a new job, it was about finishing what they started. That night, using credentials they'd failed to revoke, sloppy work Nathan, I accessed the email server one last time. I scheduled a message for 8 a.m. Friday to every board member, before approving Q2 bonuses, read this. Attached was my report. Friday dawned bright. I sat on my porch with coffee watching the neighborhood stir. No alarm, no commute. Just waiting. At 8 a.m., my email hit the board's inboxes. By 8:17, my phone started ringing. Unfamiliar numbers lit up my phone, likely assistants of board members scrambling to contact me. I let them all go to voicemail. At 9 a.m., the Emergency Finance Committee meeting would convene. William Chen would be present, armed with my documentation, observing as my email was opened and debated. At 9:32, Alex texted, "Police at HQ. Lawson and Richard being questioned in meeting rooms. Brooks looks ill. What did you do? I didn't reply. Events were unfolding as I'd foreseen. By 10 a.m., Pinnacle's general counsel called. I answered this one. "Mr. Harper, this is Elizabeth Morrow from Legal. We need you at headquarters immediately to discuss the information you sent the board." "I'm available by phone," I replied. "This requires an in-person meeting." "No, it doesn't," I cut in calmly. "Everything I know is in that report. All my evidence is backed up in multiple secure locations. If anything happens to me or my family, copies go to the SEC, IRS, and 3 media outlets." Silence. "Mr. Harper," she said, her tone measured, "the board is taking this very seriously. Several executives are on administrative leave pending investigation. Your cooperation would be appreciated." "I've cooperated by providing full documentation. My role is done." After she hung up, I drove to a diner 20 miles outside Columbus. No need to be easily located today. Over lunch, local business sites reported. Pinnacle Solutions executives probed for financial misconduct. No names yet, but they'd surface soon. At 2 p.m., William Chen called. "It's chaos," he said without preamble. "David admitted guilt when we showed him your evidence. He's trying to negotiate, blaming Richard for coercing him. Richard denies it all. Brooks claims he was just a consultant, unaware of financial dealings. The board isn't convinced. All 3 are suspended pending further review. The money? Forensic accountants start Monday. Initial estimates suggest $4.5 million siphoned over 3 years. Maybe more, I nodded to myself. My estimate was close. "The board wants to meet you," William added. "Not just about your old role. They're creating a chief security officer position reporting to the board." I'd considered this, but was still caught off guard. "I'll think about it," I said. That evening I told Claire everything. She listened silently, then asked, "What do you want to do?" Good question. The retribution was complete. Those who ousted me were being ousted, likely facing charges. Justice was delivered, cold and precise. But returning to Pinnacle meant re-entering a place that discarded me after 17 years. Did I want to? I need time to decide, I said finally. That night, I opened my laptop and posted a single update to my dormant LinkedIn profile: never destroy bridges. Let them crumble under their own greed. Within minutes, former colleagues reached out. Word was spreading. The quiet systems engineer had toppled 3 executives without raising his voice. By Monday, everyone would know who they'd underestimated. Monday morning, I entered Pinnacle's headquarters in a suit I hadn't worn in years. The security guard blinked, then quickly issued a visitor badge. "Welcome back, Mr. Harper," he said with newfound respect. The elevator to the executive floor was silent. I'd rarely visited this level. Now the boardroom awaited. 10 board members sat around a polished table. William Chen gave a slight nod as I entered. The interim CEO, formerly the COO, looked uneasy. "Mr. Harper, thank you for coming," she began. "The situation you've uncovered is unprecedented." I stayed silent. "The fraud is worse than initially thought," she continued. "The forensic team estimates $5.2 million in diverted funds. Criminal charges are in progress." I waited. William cleared his throat. "Thomas, the board unanimously voted to create a Chief Information Security Officer role, executive privileges reporting directly to us. We'd like you to take it." I placed a folder on the table. "My conditions are inside, non-negotiable." The CEO opened it, scanning quickly, her eyebrows lifted. "Full audit authority across departments, independent budget, veto power on financial tech decisions." I nodded. "This is unusual," she said. "So was embezzling $5.2 million, I replied. "That happened because no one was watching. Now someone will be." Silence fell. "You have until noon," I said, standing. "I have other offers." As I turned to leave, William asked, "Did you plan this, Thomas?" I paused at the door. "I didn't plan to be fired after 17 years. Everything after was just me doing my job, identifying weaknesses and applying security measures." At 11:47 they called. They'd accepted every condition. 6 months later, I sat in my new corner office, reviewing security protocols for the next quarter. The view of the Columbus skyline reminded me daily of how much had changed. David Lawson had pleaded guilty to multiple fraud charges, securing a reduced sentence for cooperating. Still substantial. Richard was contesting the charges, claiming ignorance despite evidence. Nathan Brooks had fled to Brazil but faced extradition. Most of the money was recovered, enough to prevent major financial harm. My former team now reported to me, though I'd promoted Alex to manage daily operations. The kid had promised, just needed someone to see it. A knock at my door broke my focus. Claire stood there, smiling. "Ready for lunch?" she asked. I nodded, grabbing my coat. As we passed through the IT department, conversations hushed briefly, not from fear but respect. They knew what had happened. Knew I could have crippled the company but chose to save it. In the elevator, Claire squeezed my hand. Happy, I considered it. The anger from those first days after my firing had faded. What remained wasn't quite happiness, more like fulfillment, closure. "I'm good," I said. Outside, the October sun warmed us as we walked to a nearby restaurant. My phone buzzed with a message from William Chen. "Board approved your security budget increase." "Unanimous." I smiled faintly. No debates, no pushback, just trust. Claire noticed. "What's that?" "Nothing," I said, pocketing the phone. "Just thinking about bridges. Some collapse under their own flaws. Others, once rebuilt, are stronger than ever. I'd built this one right this time."